I've been using ERYONE filament for quite a while, so when a good deal came along to try out one of their printers, I thought I'd give it a go. I don't know much about this. I've not seen one running or had any experience with one. This is an ERYONE ER-20. Bought with my own money, but like always, whether I've bought something or it's been sent to me for free for testing, I always give 100% honest opinions. If I don't like something, I'm not likely to review it in the first place. But I have no need to sell 5-star reviews or anything like that. So I shall give this a once over and give my honest opinion as always. Right. So we have a big box. We have a user manual. I was going to say it's a nice thick book, but actually by the time you go, right, that bit's the English, so still better than a ratty bit of paper. What I'm assuming is a little bit of demo filament, it's probably white PLA, sometimes it's silk. Okay, and we've got a quick start guide. And at least it's not packed in polystyrene, which if you've seen my Mingda Magician X video, you'll know I'm not a fan of. In fact, when I cleared the desk getting ready to do this, I still found little bits of polystyrene. Right. So, we have a box with a packing list, and underneath we have the actual printer. So I'm just going to lift this off the bench and empty the contents out. Okay, so in the box we have a decent looking UK mains plug with fuse and a couple of lead screws. Let's get the rest out. Now when I'm putting together printers like this on video, I tend to do a combination of two approaches. One, I'm looking at it as if I'd never put a printer together before and I'm just following the instructions. That's so I get an idea of whether it could be a good printer to suggest to someone new to the hobby. But I also like to give them a once over for the sort of things an experienced user's looking for. And so far the packing on this is pretty good. You've got a little bit there to stop the gantry going up and down, that's a nice touch. And then you can lift these bits out. Anything like that that lessens the chance of you snagging the box as you're lifting the whole thing out is always a good idea. Excuse me. Right, can we drop that there? Okay. Right, so here's our hot end. Looks fairly standard. Got your blower front mounted, yeah, front mounted to cool the part, and you've got your side mounted hot end cooler and a built-in, looks like BL Touch type clone. So it's nice to be able to get the gantry out of the box and not have to lift the gantry and the base at the same time. So I'm assuming this bit will hook into the gantry, but we'll come back to that. So now we just want the base out. Not a bad lump. Oh, and down there we have a clip off of the bed clips. Okay, so now we've got that far, let's have a look what's in this box. Okay, so we've got a USB cable, we've got a belt, couplers, nozzle, nozzle cleaning needle, and some more Bowden tube. A few other bits what they look like. Belt crimps in there, but we'll go through that in a minute. Decent looking set of snips, an actual spanner, a few other bits. We have a scraper. I love the fact that whenever you get a print with a glass bed, they send you a metal scraper. Not a good thing to use on a glass bed because you can ding the glass, and also these things are dangerous. They tend to slip and stab you in the hand. I normally use a printed one like this. This is my own design that I made for the group 3DP Rescue that I admin. But you can get loads of designs like this on Thingiverse and the others. So the scraper will go with my collection of metal scrapers that I don't use. There's our screen knob, card reader, generic 8 gig micro SD card. It looks like bed clips, some bolts and locking washers, and I'm guessing that's our spool holder. So let's move that box out of the way. Right, and in my usual carefully planned out way, I've now buried up the instructions. Excuse me. Apologies to anyone wearing headphones. Right, don't need that. So, parts check. There we go. So, tools. scraper. Yep, we've already slung that to one side. So, tools, scraper, done. Snips, not bad looking set. Phillips screwdriver, one of these useless little plasticky ones. I've got a drawer full of these. Don't know why I don't just bin them, but there you go. We have 2 wrenches, a number 7, proper actual spanner, open and ring, and a 19mm I think. And then we have a trio of hex keys. Not seen them in this sort of colour before, but they are ball end on the long end, which is handy. So it's there. Assembly accessories. So that will be this lot. Let's get a parts tray. Okay, that one? No. Okay, just a silly little detail, but on your instructions you've got assembly accessories, and on the bag you've got install screw. Right. So yes, we have what looks like, where are we? Bed clips. Some bolts, some smaller bolts, locking washers, okay, now some of this description isn't overly helpful. So we've got nozzle, Bowden couplers, got a couple of belt clips, got some bolts there, they're the same, yep, they look the same. Got a USB cable, not a bad length. Quite often you get these little short ones, they're like 30 mil long or something. That's better. That's one side. Right, got a card reader. Let's pop the card in that before it wanders off. right first time. And we have the screen knob. Okay, so that's any obvious bits that I'm missing. Yep, nozzle cleaner, nozzle, okay. Well, from going from the pictures, we seem to be missing some bits, which is helpful. Because we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 16 bolts on the pictures, and we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in total. So my guess is they revised the assembly a bit and some screws are already fitted. Anyhow, right, let's get the rest of this stuff unwrapped. Put you out of the way. Don't need that yet. Oh, all that. Okay, let's come in a little bit closer. And where are we? A couple of bits of foam under the bed. Nope. 4. And okay, so we've got 2 of these binder clips, both missing a wing, and as I only found 1 wing loose in the box, that's something I want to look out for. Now, does this glass bed lift off? Yes, and there it is. Okay, glass bed looks okay. It won't keep a glass bed on it for long. I'll be swapping to probably Garolite, but I will run it with the glass bed at start. Right, nothing else under there. Now I don't see any eccentric nuts, which means at a glance I don't see any obvious way of tightening or loosening the bed. And come to that, there's no bed knobs either. What there is springs there, there, here, here and here, with bolts that you can access from the top. So I assume This works on a semi-rigid theory. But we shall find out. Nice strain relief on the bed. Surprising how many printers still arrive without that. Oops, hang on, how many of these am I finding? Oops, just knocked the microphone, sorry about that. Yeah, so this is why I like to see eccentric nuts. Can you hear that noise? That's flat spots on the wheels, causing it to jolt. Something that you'd normally be able to tune out with eccentric nuts. But we shall see. Right, so that's that. Let's have a look at the gantry. Okay. So the gantry's got a bolt on it, which means I assume that's a completely spare belt with clips. Your hot end's all assembled. Got a breakout board there. So let's yep, looks okay from the front. Again, no eccentric nuts. In fact, I can't see any anywhere. That seems a bit weird to me, being as I'm used to running printers that use them. Okay, so let's have that off. Put you there a minute. Okay. Now before I get to assembling, let's have a look inside it. Oh, that's much better to see. Look at that. The foot is clearly open, so you can see the bolt. So much better. Now, what are the odds of any of these actually fitting? Wow, first try. That is a rarity. Okay, so this base is actually metal. It looked plastic at first. What do we have inside? Obviously most new users wouldn't want or need to take this base off. You would hopefully be able to trust that everything inside is sound. But anybody who knows me knows that it won't stay stock for long, and I will be tinkering with this. Which means I want to know what board I'm dealing with inside of it, and things like that. Also gives me a chance to check for any loose connections or anything I need to come back on, like putting ferrules on the screw terminals, that sort of thing. Okay, so if you're taking this apart yourself, just make note, the bolts in the feet are the longer ones. Oh, and don't throw them on the floor. Okay, we have a fan connected here, so let's see what we've got by way of cable before we pull too far. Okay, there's a little cable here with a fan header on it. That means we can remove this whole plate and move it out of our way for a second. Now what have we got? Okay. A reasonable amount of space in there. Definitely not a mean well. 24 volt, 14.5 amp, 350 watt power supply. Not sure what board this is. It's got a direct XT60 power in here. Four steppers, and it says TMC 2209, so that'll be silent steppers. Cabling all looks pretty good. Doesn't look like there's any ferrules there. We've got Z2, extruder 0. X, Z1, so that will be Y. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 steppers, so this is going to be paired Z, not independent Z. So both motors will be running in parallel. Okay, screen. Nothing obvious to identify the screen as one I'm familiar with. Got 2 connectors running into it, which are the 12 pin. Not 10 pin, I think. But it looks like a fairly run-of-the-mill mono screen. Okay, so I don't know an awful lot about the board. Can I see chip ID? Not sure. Let's have a look. Okay. Yeah, I can see the ID on the chip. It's an STM chip. Let's get some photos of that. Okay, so I'm seeing STM32F103 and I think that's VT6. If you're just putting together your first printer, you don't have to worry about any of this level. Just double check these terminals. Anytime you're touching anything to do with this, make sure your power is fully disconnected and that you've let any residual power drain out. I'm just making sure all these screw terminals are tight before I close it back up. Excuse me. Once I've got the printer up and running and tested, I'll come back in and drop off a couple of extra tails from the power supply to run something like a Raspberry Pi, and then just find somewhere to tap the power supply out of the case. I just need a little hole drilled somewhere, but again, that's the sort of modding I do. So I don't see any loose connections. And the board isn't covered with glue, which is a nice touch, as is this part here, which is a printed retainer by the looks of it. Oops, just moved the capacitor to stop the display cables working loose. And you've got a header connector there. Yep, they're all good. Let's get a screwdriver to test those terminals are tight. can put ferrules on those as well. Yep, all looks good. Make sure they're tight so they can't rattle loose. Okay, oops. And that's why you shouldn't do that. Right, let's put her back together. And let's not forget the fan header. There we go. Okay, not all the holes line up 100%. So just watch for that. And as you're putting these screws in, leave them all slightly slack till you've got the last one in. Then go round, tighten them up. Okay, and then once you've got the last one in, you can get them all tight. So far I'm not seeing any issues or anything. Certainly not considering I paid 100 outright for this. That included free delivery. That's not its usual price, but I caught a great deal. So, back over we go. Oop. back to our instructions. Okay, so there's a link in the guide to an assembly video should you need it. So it says first step, lead screws. I'm going to get some tissue to hand in case these are greasy. Yeah, there's a little bit of grease or oil on them. And if you're a purist, you'd probably want to clean all of that off and start fresh. I am not a purist. So I'll run it like this for a little bit. And then either take them out and clean them, or just add some grease in situ. Right, that's them fitted, so next up fit the extruder. Right, so over we go. Now the instructions aren't overly specific, but my guess is you'll route the cable under the top of the gantry, and then this would fit like so. Is that right? Yes. And 3x6 screws. I'm guessing that's them. Now where I put me? Try that. That's the one. Let's check. Yep. Are you going to fit? Just. Now be very careful about over tightening these, because the fan surround is plastic. I'm just going going to work them down just hand tight, both sides. Okay, that's not going to reach. Nope, of course not. Do that one. Right. So that's that. So what's our next step? Okay, so the next step is to drop the gantry into these holes and put the bolts up from underneath. Now, can we do this without bits falling everywhere? That's it there. Maybe we can. And straight away we lost the lead screw. Right. I'm just getting each bolt ready with its locking washer, just to save fumbling. And now, rather than holding the printer up in the air, if you just slide it forwards a bit like that. So now this part is off the side of the bench. What I can do is reach up from underneath, put the bolts in, and I'm not holding the printer in the air. Again, I'm deliberately leaving them slack until I've got all four in. So I'm basically running it all the way in and then spinning it back a turn or two. So all in all, so far, I wouldn't say the assembly is over difficult. Having a basic idea of what you're doing helps, but I'm sure there's dozens of YouTube videos showing exactly step by step how to do this. I haven't yet seen a power selector. That doesn't mean I've got to dismantle it again to check. Given the orientation of the power supply, I'd expect it's over here somewhere. Oh, all four are in, so now I can tighten them up. No, there's no power selector here. Strange. Don't tell me I've got to dismantle it just to look for one. Okay, and I've just noticed there is actually some adjustment for the belt. Just here you've got a slot and just enough room that if you slack those two bolts off, you can pull the belt adjuster this way a bit. At the moment that feels perfectly tight enough. And on the X gantry you've got this adjuster here. All you do is slack these two bolts, drop an Allen key through this gap here, use that to apply your tension with one hand while you tighten those bolts back up, and you basically just want a little bit of a twang. That feels a little bit loose, so I'll tighten that in a minute. Okay, so next, we've done that. Right, lead screws. Okay, so here is your lead screw coupler. Underneath is the stepper motor. It should come up to about halfway, and then your lead screw drops in the top. And then, yep, that one's tight. Lead screws all the way down in. So we tighten that one. And the same on the other side. And then, yeah. Is that meant to level itself? Not like that. Okay, we'll figure that out in a minute. So, cables, spool holder, and that should be it. No mention of power selector. This. Okay, the extruder feels plasticky. Got a nice adjustment here on tension. A little bit of cable retention there, which is nice to see. I'm not seeing any of the blue clips that you normally get to hold these tubes in place, but a lot of people run without them. I've got loads of spares regardless. So now this should connect up. Right, so you've got one stepper connector labelled E0. That'll be your extruder, and it'll drop in the back of there. Your other one's labelled X, so that'll be your X stepper, which is over here. Oop, and that should drop in just like that. And yes, you're probably off frame, but here we go. There's where your X stepper cable goes, and that's your extruder cable, and this bit, and lots of bets I've done it in the wrong order, should go up under there somewhere. Yes. Sorry for the wavy camera. Should go in there, yeah. Alright, that's that bit done. Okay. So up under here there's a couple of threaded holes which will be for your two bolts, and yeah, so filament holder will go like so, give or take. Personally, I would have thought this would be an easier bit to assemble before you put the gantry on. Where are we? Nope. Nope. Yes. Okay, that's strange. I'm looking at the wrong holes. Yes, this would definitely be a better idea to do before putting the gantry on. Okay, not ideal to balance a printer like this. I'm trying to figure out why these bolts aren't catching in the hole, which is a bit easier when you can see where the holes are. Yep. Okay. Well, that's not good. And I've got the screw stuck. Okay. Yes, so mystery solved. I'm not sure if I'll get enough light to show you this, or enough length on the cable indeed. Here is a pair of threaded holes in the frame, and the bolts they supply, oh, where are we, are the wrong size. So let's set that camera down and go digging for spare bolts. Let me just pause the recording while I hunt the right bolts out. And I'm back. So yeah, the instructions clearly tell you to use M4x16 round head socket screw. What they've included are M3, so that's why it wasn't fitting. Luckily, amongst all my hundreds and hundreds of bolts and bits I use, I've got some M4x16. So on we go. Okay, makes quite a difference if you're using the right size bolt. So I mean, for me as a tinkerer, that wasn't a deal breaker, but if you were putting this together as a first printer, you would assume they'd included all the right hardware, and at this point you'd be stuck. So there's a 50-50 chance this would then just be sent back as faulty for the want of 2 bolts. And it's clearly a packing error, because I I still have 4 16mm long bolts. Assuming it's 2 to use and 2 for spare, they've just packed the wrong size. But okay, that's our spool holder attached. Tighten that up. Back to the instructions, and now it says test before print and goes straight to powering the printer up. I still haven't found a power selector switch anywhere. Nope. Right, let's have a look in the manual. Yeah, all the usual things about not using electrical items in the bath or the shower. It's nice to see the whole menu laid out in the manual. Looks like it's full sensorless homing, which, assuming it works right, is cool. And that was straight into German. Okay, it mentions an assembly video on the SD card, so I'm going to pause for a minute while I skim through that. And if I still don't find anything, the question is, do I just power it up and hope it doesn't go bang? Bearing in mind I'm in the UK, which is 220 to 240 volts AC. Or do I take it all apart again so I can look on the power supply? So, back in a minute. Okay, so I've done a bit of Googling. I've skimmed through all the instructional videos, and I cannot see any mention of a voltage selector anywhere. So, I'm just going to plug it in and see what happens. It shouldn't go bang because it was bought for the UK market, so either the power supply in there has an inbuilt selector, or it should be pre-configured for the UK. If it goes bang, then ERYONE have done a very poor job of their documentation. So far the documentation seems okay, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and power it up. Place your bets now. Okay, it's a real anticlimax. Okay, I don't see any magic smoke. It's powered up. Right. Okay, we've got a fan somewhere making a nice bit of noise, so at least I know that's working. Let's get these bits out of the way. Now, can we actually see what's going on the screen? No. We'll get him. Let's put you back there. Right, so after initial boot up, it's gone straight into a language selection screen. So I'm just going to fit the screen knob, which would have been better to do before powering on. Oh no, I've put it into Italian. Okay. Well, I'm guessing Italian. Could be Spanish. So, where would your language selection be hiding? Aha! I see a bit that says Spanish, so I'm going to guess it was there. Right, English. Okay. Right, just skimming through it. It's a fairly standard Marlin menu if you're familiar with that. No standout obvious things. Oh, it's nice to see the preheat in the temperature menu. Runs through PLA, ABS, PETG and TPU. That's a nice little touch. Configuration. So you've got probe Z offset, calibrate Z, language, BL touch, power loss recovery on, that will be going off. You've only got preheat, PLA and ABS configurations, so that's a bit weird. And advanced settings. All the usual things you'd expect to see there, including initialize EEPROM, so we should just do that, and that should take us straight back to clear. No, you've put it to Spanish again. Okay, so yeah, we get stuck in a loop there. So I'm going to hit cancel, and now I'm going to change the language again. Okay, so that's back to English. Let's start over. Yep, we're good. Okay. So one of the instructional videos said to line up your Z lead screws, or to put it another way, to get your x-axis carriage straight, what you do is you turn the lead screws and look at your measuring marks on the back. So let's drop this down a bit. There we go, now that's in my eye line. So I'm going to go for 28 both sides on the button. So one there on 28 and okay, they haven't made this over easy because there's a plate on the back. Not sure if you can see it. Just there. This gantry plate is raised, which throws your eye out a little bit. That's fine, we can work around that. Well, I'm going to call that close enough. On some of my other printers that are paired dual Z, I just have a set of props that sit like this, and you bring the Z axis down until it sits evenly on them. That achieves the same thing. Right, so that's that done. So now, oops, let's put the bed on. Move you over there. There. Okay, so it's wrapped in cling film and then sealed again in plastic. I don't like glass beds at all. So it was well packaged. Anyone who knows me knows how clumsy I am, and what a wonder it is I've got to this point without actually already smashing it. So let's give that a clean. It's just ordinary cheap glass cleaner spray. Just make sure there's no residue on the bottom of the plate. I've already got a magnetic sticker lined up for this. They'll have to cut down from a 310 bed, and then this will get either a flexi magnetic build plate or Garolite. But in fairness to it, I shall test it with the glass bed first and endeavour not to swear too much. Okay, so comes with a set of these clips. That's a nicer idea than the spring clips, which I assume should, yeah, It should pop on there somewhere. Composition. Okay. So the part that clips over the top of the glass is metal. I thought at first it was plastic. The underside is plastic. Oh, turning it the wrong way. Nice. Nice spritz. Right, we have our bit of paper. So, motion, auto home. Instructions said after that to do calibrate Z, which I think was in, yes, in the configuration menu. The probe Z offset is set at -2.60, which is about what I'd usually see on this type of probe. Oh, the menu timeout's quick. So calibrate Z. Start to calibrate the Z probe offset. Yes. Waiting. Okay. Paper under the nozzle. Move Z until nozzle touches the bed. We've got a lot of fine tuning here because this is coming down in tenths of a millimetre. Yeah, 0.9 too loose, 0.8 isn't there, 0.7 personally I want a bit more slack than that, but we'll call it 0.7, and then you're given a no or yes with no information on what that's about, so I'm going to guess yes, and as you select it, it says save Z value. Yes, saved. Okay, and that has now changed the probe Z offset to -1.9. So if I go into probe Z offset -1.91, that should allow me to dial that back up. And no. Okay then. So I'll put it back to -1.91. Okay. So now we'll do another auto home. Where'd I put the filament? Okay, so let's get our heat in. Preheat PLA. Preheat PLA end, and you're going to 200. Let's move the Z up a bit. These sample bits are always a pain, but if they're going to send it with a printer, I'm going to use it. Okay, the snips are cutting nice, they've been well oiled because it's leaving a little oil mark on the actual filament. So I'm going to just feed that in the end of the tube. It should hit the extruder. Yes. And then completely miss the other side of the extruder. Okay, that feed path's a bit weird. And you need about 8 hands to work it. Not ideal. Oh, stupid idea. Okay. Where they've added a bit of Bowden tube on the inlet to the extruder, I think the idea was to guide the filament better, but what it's actually doing is getting in the way. You kind of need 3 hands to feed the filament in and find there we go. Right. Okay, I'm going to bleep that. Oh, that's because I'm leaning on the dial. Right. How are we doing for temperature? And we're at 200. Right, so just going to feed this filament in. Try and push a bit through. Right. Can we feed any? Yep, there's a bit coming out, and what I see coming out of the extruder is orange, so obviously a bit of filament's run through this already. That's good. That means at least they tested it in the factory. Okay, that's coming out pure white, so we should stop there. Back it up a little bit so it doesn't keep oozing. Yep. Now, SD card in, and I've just copied the example files onto the card, nothing else is on there, so let's see what we got. Print from media, and you have test 1, test 2 and test 3, so it's file 1. Okay, we're waiting for the bed to heat. That seems to be about it. Right, that's going to take a while, so I shall end the video here. Run a few prints, mess about with it a bit, and then report back. Haven't seen anything so far that would say to me don't buy it. A few tweaks to the instructions wouldn't go amiss, but that's about it. So let's see what it's capable of without any tweaking.